Welcome to the Prog Talks by the Progspace. Welcome to the Prog Talks, an interview series by the Progspace where we will be talking to musicians in all corners of the progressive music scene.
Welcome back to another episode of the Prog Talks. I'm your host Dario, and as always, before we jump into today's topic and welcome today's guests, please don't forget to get us a cup of tea, which helps us out a lot, and it's delicious and healthy. And now my honored guests today, I'm really happy to welcome a familiar face for those who followed me with the Progcast earlier, like 2 years ago or something. Lucas de la Rosa, also known as Lulu.
Hi.
And then a new face, Iago Franco Gonzalez, calling from Berlin. And today we want to talk mostly about the debut album of Iago's project band. It's called Aquae Furtivae. The album is called Road to Square One. It's dropping on April 1st. And Iago, can you tell us what's it about, and maybe tell us a little bit about the road to releasing Road to Square One?
Yes. So, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this talk. And the album essentially deals with the topic of Alzheimer. As some people that have been following the band since the releases of the first two singles may know, my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer like over 10 years ago now, actually. After some time of being in Berlin, trying to be in some projects and different bands and all, I decided to, it would be easy to actually start my own. And when I started writing this album, I thought, it was a good way to really relieve, I guess, the thing was going that we were going through in my family. So the album itself, it kind of has a few different perspectives of different members of the family, and it kind of sees, how three of the songs that have lyrics, which is not many actually for the whole album, but yeah. So like one of them is kind of my point of view, which is a maze. And then we would have The Path of the Lost, which is more like my father's point of view, and the title track Road to Square One, which is more of my mother's point of view, which I think is the person in the whole family who actually suffered the most with this whole situation. Because there was really at one point where she was really losing her own sanity, dealing with this. And yes, as you go through the album, like there's a lot of instrumental tracks as well, which for me it's also, I don't know, sometimes it's easier to I guess go through the feelings with just music rather than actual words. So one day you're feeling in a certain way, so you would sit down in the piano or so, and this is how Flesh and Bones came out, for example. It was just just things that go through your head you put down into music. Then The Path of the Lost was, I guess, a bit strange to write, I guess, because it's more of an interpretation of what I think my father was actually going through, because you don't really understand actually what this person is thinking, or I could just see more of his reactions of the denial at first, which was like he was really not accepting that he was losing his mind and he was forgetting everything, and he got to this point where he was really like not accepting the situation, and then it kind of went into this kind of state where he kept saying, it was like, yeah, now I'm useless. Now I can't do anything now. And it was actually really sad to see such a happy and like alive man. He was living life every day, like seriously, the happiest person you would see. For him, his job, his everything was like a party. So this change, I mean, we were lucky actually within our family because Alzheimer hits people also very differently. Some people can lose all notion of themselves and who they know within like a few months. We were lucky because he actually had a very gradual advancement in the illness. So for like a good few years, he was still with us. But yeah, you could see that every time he was just going backwards, which is essentially what happens. And then with Road to Square One, the actual title track was easier to actually put the feelings because it was really like, I was with my mom for like most of it, and I could really see her whole like thought process of it and her like almost suicidal states at some points where she was done with everything. And it was like, it still is obviously a tough fight. I mean, I think it has gotten better for her in the past few years. She's like obviously dealing with it a lot better now. But yeah, it was quite, I guess, rough to write this in some ways because it is, it's just the lyrics themselves are a little rough at some points, but it is what it was. I wasn't trying to really water it down.
Did you sit down with your mom and talk about it, that you're gonna write this like this, and also did you show her the lyrics once they were done and ask her what she thinks about them and stuff?
Well, I actually didn't really tell her like, oh, I'm writing an album out of this. I kind of like the process kind of started, and then once I was I had already done all the demo tracks and all, then I was like more mentioned about the project. And like always, she was really, really supportive about it as well, because obviously, like it's a big part of her in this album as well. So yeah, no, she has been really, really supportive about it as well, which is nice as well, considering the whole donation project that we have, like to give away the 100% of our revenue for the first 3 months of release. So obviously, yeah, it's almost as important for her as it is for me, pretty much. And yeah, like the whole family overall is been really behind this project a lot.
Wonderful. You mentioned that when you started this project, you were in Berlin, looking for different bands, different projects to be involved in, and then you started your own. But that was a couple of years ago, I think, and then you were away from Berlin for some time. You've been back home in Lanzarote, right, for some time.
Correct. Yeah.
Now you're back in Berlin, but as we can see, I think everyone who knows Lulu knows that they are not in Berlin either. So can you tell us a little bit about how you recruited fellow musicians to contribute and to help you in bringing this project to life musically?
Yeah. So it started like when I was in a band here called Mind Diver, and like the band kind of just disassembled itself. So after this, I was a bit tired of like putting time into projects and then like this kind of things happening and people walking out and whatnot. So I was like, I'm just gonna start my own project so that it's there, like I can just take it at my own time and like whatever happens, it's there, And then I started looking for musicians. One of them, Jerome, one of the guitarists that helped me with it, Jerome Kaufman. I actually met him at my old work in a bar. It was actually my day off, but it was a bar, so obviously I'd go to my job on a day off. And yeah, it was like this big guy with a guitar and long hair and whatnot. I was like, he's probably a metalhead, I'm just gonna go and ask him. And yeah, that's how I met Jerome. And like eventually we started like talking a bit about it. And like the next person to join was Anais, which I met through a Facebook group here in Berlin, which is like just musicians in Berlin. And I asked for like singer, and that's how I found Anais. And then we started like not long after we started tracking Amaze, and The Path of the Lost came after. And then Lulu. How did I meet Lulu? Actually, it was through the. I think it was also through Facebook, like through the whole pro community. That was. I think it was just through the whole pro community. We did meet once in Scotland. We did actually meet in person where he came to Perth. Yeah.
Where was that? Was it like Edinburgh or?
It was in Perthshire. You came to Perth for like one day.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Perth.
We came to Perth for one day, and we did actually meet in person. We spent like a whole afternoon. But back then, I don't think the project was on yet. Was it? Actually, I think I had like a couple demos. Maybe I showed you, and then like I kind of sent you what was recorded at the time. And yeah, this whole process was like, I remember the first demo of Amaze that I sent Lulu. It was like, oh wow, yeah, very rough in the edges. And then obviously Lulu went and made an absolute piece of art out of it. That was, yeah.
So yeah, Lulu, how was your involvement here? I mean, we know that you, for example, with Soledad, you also play a huge role as a producer, and also with I don't know, string arrangements and programming stuff and programming drums. I don't know. So how did you get involved with this from your perspective, and what did you contribute in the end, apart from the vocals? That is, everyone who knows your voice will hear that it's you.
Yeah, probably. It was really chaotic. I think I'm involved in a lot of ways because when people hire me as a mixing engineer or a mastering engineer, it's a very defined job. It's like I get a certain set of files that I require, and then I do a job that I know exactly what I'm gonna do, and then I send it back to them, and that's how it is. And so I can master albums or mix albums fairly quickly, usually, if that's the job. But as soon as you get into production and arrangement, it takes a creative side on it that makes it, it will be more chaotic in a way. It'll be more like there's gonna be a lot more bouncing back and forth, me and Iago just giving ideas, just saying like, what do you think of this? Should I remove this? Should I add this? And then I did a lot in terms of the actual instruments, just changing the drum patterns, and then changing some things about the bass, and then recording a lot of the guitars myself, and the vocals. And by doing that, I don't necessarily ask every single time, hey, are you awake? Can I change that note? Can I make it sharp or whatever? Because I knew from the start, like Iago told me that I could be creative with it. So when I was tracking guitars, if I felt like I should slide to a different note instead, I would just record it like that. And I would just take these tiny, bits of creativity here and there, like just doing kind of what I wanted or what I thought sounded better on every instrument. And it ended up as a whole, just, adding up and turning the song to sounding pretty different at the end. And so I would just do this and then send a rough version, not very, to Iago, and he would tell me if he thought it was good or not, but usually he would say it was really good. So I ended up having a lot to say on the actual writing of the album at the end of the day, I guess.
So yeah, even though it started initially as your own project and all the songs and the ideas originated with you, Iago, it kind of developed into a collaborative effort, sounds like, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, to be honest, that is kind of also what I did want from the beginning with this project is that and in the future, like I would also like to have more musicians involved. I think it would be nice because for me it's kind of fun to have different inputs from creativity. I don't like I am a bit like I like to write the main structure kind of thing of whatever because most of the times when I write music is a lot of personal stuff. So I do tend to write kind of the main structure, but then I do like to have a lot of creative input as well from the outside.
Yeah, you are originally like your main instrument, the drums, right?
Yeah.
But as you said earlier, you're also playing keyboards or piano and stuff. So, would you say you're a multi-instrumentalist, or you're just getting by with these other instruments?
I get by. I would say I get by.
You managed to get your point across for others to pick it up who are better on the other instruments.
Yeah. Also, I mean, like I do cheat on certain regards. Like sometimes maybe it's like things that I cannot do at a certain speed. I will just do it slowly and then speed it up, kind of like get the point across, and then be like, right, this is what I want to do. Like I have been getting new ideas for what could be, a second album, and like here though what I have been doing is a lot more MIDI, just to get the ideas kind of through easier. But yeah. Also, like to be fair, Lucas has like an amazing ear, so it's like one person that can just hear what you have and be like, right, I get it, and then just provide.
Yeah, well, you mentioned apart from Lucas, you mentioned already Jerome and Anais. So, would you consider like this, like the kind of core band, and you have some collaborators or some guests, like the cellist on Flesh and Bone, was it right?
Yeah.
Or is like the two of you? Is this the core band, or is it just you?
Well, to be honest, like for the album itself, it was like the people that obviously have been present so far. But if it would come, well, it will come eventually to a live scenario. I will probably have to find like a few other musicians, because like I know, for example, Jerome has his own like project, which I'm kind of also starting to take part in. It's like this doom stoner metal kind of thing. He's got going. So obviously he's busy with that, and he already told me like he would probably not have time for it. I don't really know about Anais, like with her job and everything. I would have to check with her. I mean, it's not something that I have actually like dived so deeply into yet, but I would love to eventually play gigs. So yeah, like once the time comes, I'll look more seriously into it, and then see what people are up for it. And yeah, like at the moment, it's not really what's on my mind 100%. I think I would like to have a bit more of a repertoire. But yeah, so I couldn't really tell you what the band itself is like. I am very comfortable with the idea of having people coming and going, and like, so yeah, it really depends on what happens in the future. I'm really easygoing with it. I'm not stuck to an idea and that's it.
So you're not married to one band lineup. You're rather keeping it polyamorously open.
yeah, that's me. Very open-hearted.
Wonderful. You mentioned the repertoire, and in your first long answer, you already kind of gave a vague idea of the three main songs and the perspectives. Yeah, I mean, the first one that you released was Amaze Part 1 and Part 2 in March 2020, and then along came The Path of the Lost in June 2020 with the lyrics video from Van, Progbox Studios, Progspace, graphic magician who's also responsible, of course, for the graphics of the Prog Talks. We will link the video, of course. You guys go check it out. If you're on YouTube, you will be able to click a link somewhere, probably up there. Yeah, so that was almost 1.5 years ago.
Time goes fast.
So when you were releasing those singles back then, did you already have like a different schedule to finish the whole thing in mind, and it just like didn't work out, or you just wanted to put them out and then deal with the rest, finishing the album later?
Well, so like this was actually so long ago. I actually like think back, but so I remember actually Amaze was written back in 2017, I think, when I was still in Scotland actually. And back then there was no even an idea of a band or anything. It was just like a random song that I pulled off of just again of like going through the feelings, I guess. And then obviously eventually when I started the whole, like when I just wanted to create something, well, there was that to start with. And then obviously the idea of like, hey, let's like guess talk about something meaningful or something that I can just like, it's like my diary almost in a way, it was like where I just throw my shit where I was like, this is what's making me feel shit, so I'm just gonna write about this. So yeah, like the thing is that when I released actually The Path of the Lost, I don't think the album wasn't actually written by then or finished. It was like I had a few ideas here and there, and then we had this like huge strict lockdown in Spain where we couldn't leave the house for anything. So like I actually kind of wrote the rest of the album within a few months, pretty much. Which was kind of handy, I guess, to be locked at home. It's like made the best out of it. And then obviously my idea was to hopefully be able to come back to Berlin at some point and, meet up with Jerome and carry on with the whole tracking process as we did with Amaze and like, yeah, kind of proceed with it. But obviously things didn't really quite work out because the whole thing extended for a lot longer than expected. We just had to do everything online. So, like trying to get some of the studio space and all for like a nice to record her vocals and stuff. It was a bit of a mess, to be honest, because it was all like me talking with Jerome, who had some equipment to take a nice to studio to record, and like all of this whole, it was a bit chaotic as well. So yeah. Yeah, I didn't really. I mean, I did want to like release the album by like the end of 2021 or something like this. At first, I don't know, it was kind of ridiculous, but it really got delayed a lot. I'm hoping that the next one will go a bit smoother.
Yeah, well, we talked a little bit about the logistics and the timeline, and of course the lyrical like content, the conceptual things, but we haven't actually touched on how the music itself sounds like. And I think for anyone who will be familiar with Amaze and Path of the Lost, they might be a little bit surprised about the very, very first bars of opening blues, whatever's going on there. And
I was surprised too.
And I mean, the both Amaze and the Path of the Lost were both already like quite long, like I don't know, 6 or 8 minute songs with a lot of different parts, where you would go from, I don't know, merry-go-round children's melody to savage gent breakdown in a matter of seconds. The title track, which is, you already mentioned that 3 tracks have lyrics, and that is of course the 2 singles and then the title track, which is even longer, around 15 minutes or so. And of course there's even more time to put in more influences. When you start with the song, writing a song, did you you just do it and set yourself no boundaries whatsoever and throw together whatever comes to mind first?
Yeah. I mean, it's when I start writing a song, I usually write a few minutes and then I go into this massive block and then just leave it for a bunch of months and then start 20 new ones. But no, I mean, I don't really go with a specific idea. I'll sometimes just be, just playing a bit on guitar or piano and stuff, and then be okay, this kind of sounds cool, so I'll just record that, and then I'll just keep putting ideas together, and eventually it's okay, this goes good with this, so I'll kind of try to go from one part to the other and mix them up, and just kind of whatever feels good in the moment. I just put this together, and then that's kind of how the whole process goes along. Some days, the Path of the Lost was probably the fastest one to be written. That was within, I think, I don't know, 5 or 6 days that was written. Actually, it was super quick. That was one of those sat down and the whole thing just came out.
If you are enjoying this interview, please head over to theprogspace.com for more reviews, articles, pictures and interviews all about progressive music. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. theprogspace.com.
Yeah, Iago, you just mentioned that how you put things together while writing, how it went down, the writing process, and then send the stuff back and forth. With Lulu, at this point, were the others already also involved, or did you finish the songs, the songwriting process, the part with Lulu, and then went to the other musicians involved in order for them to record their parts?
First, actually, Amaze was actually released, and then the Path of Lost was written after that. And then, after the release of the Path of the Lost was when we kind of I finished writing the rest of the album, and that's when I started sending the rest of the pieces to to Jerome, Donais, to Mark, and then usually Lulu would be the last person to receive everything, since obviously Lulu was doing vocals, guitars plus mixing, so it would be kind of I would get all the files back from everyone, and then I would send it to Lulu, and then Lulu would just deal with it.
So Jerome and Anais, you said, are in Berlin. Did you were you with them when they recorded, or did they do that on their own?
No, so for Amaze, we did this together. Jerome and I, and myself. And then for the rest, it was all separate. So I was sending the files to them in Berlin, to Mark in Scotland, and then obviously they sent me back this, and then to Lulu in France. So it was a quite international project, to be honest, at that point.
Yeah, it's I think this kind of production is getting more and more common. Even I think even before and without the pandemic, it's with the internet, it's just so much easier to have an international project with people you want to collaborate with. You don't have to, board a plane and fly somewhere.
Would have been nice
for a long time.
Yeah. Would have been nice, and that's of course, but it's of course also a question of budget, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but we were also talking about how the music sounds and how diverse it sounds. So, Iago, being the initiator and the primary composer, what would you say are your like main influences?
I mean, I think probably. Well, it's funny actually because the music itself, especially the first two releases were compared mostly to Muse, and also some people even said System of a Down. Surprisingly,
there is a lot of more growling going on than with Muse.
Yeah, for sure. The funny part about this all is that I actually, and shame on me, I guess, I actually didn't really discover Muse until like 6 months ago or so. So like way after the album was actually done. And obviously once I like started listening to their stuff, I was like, shit, this is amazing. But yeah, it was kind of surprising. And I did know like one song, what's it called? Butterflies and Hurricanes, is it? But this was from like a video game, like I think it was a Formula One game from 2005 or something like this. Like I just, because they had it in the intro, and I remember I really liked this song, but that was really the only one song I knew from them. And then obviously after having all of these people commenting on the song saying that like it had this really music vibe, that's when I kind of went on to check them, and then I actually totally did love their stuff, and I could see the similarities, I guess, in the music. But I think also a lot of Lulu's voice maybe has to do with it. I mean, I don't know, melody wise perhaps too, but I mean, I don't know. It was just yeah. There you go.
This one is also nice, old school.
Oh yeah, that's actually one of my favorites. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And Showbiz, I also do love Showbiz quite a lot. I have a. Oh, you have it there somewhere, don't you?
It's hard to say if it's a big influence for me vocally. I'm not quite sure because it's like a little bit, but I get why people would think I'm super influenced by him. But it's more like, I feel like it's more like we both want to do the same things vocally with our head voice and the vibrato and stuff. But I don't necessarily do it because of the Muse singer, you know. So it's a bit hard to say if he really influenced me that much for the vocals. I'm not quite sure. Probably a little bit for sure, but yeah.
Yeah, when Iago sends you these files with totally diverse music, is it how was it for you, Lulu? Did you sometimes say, this doesn't fit in there, or did you just roll with it, roll with most of it?
A lot of both, I guess. There was definitely parts where I was not quite sure what to do, but it ended up working out, you know. I don't know. I don't have much to say about it, I guess.
Iago, I know, since we've been talking for some time now, since probably before the release of the singles, I got to know you a little bit, and I know you also like stuff like folk and power metal and all these kinds of things that are not necessarily present so much in the sound of Aquae Furtivae. Would you consider some sounds, some genres, or some vibes not to be fitting for that project, or would you say anything goes, anything's possible?
I actually, funny you mentioned that, because I think I've been putting a bunch of ideas together for like what I would like it to be, I guess, the second album, and it's kind of more going, how they say, balls to the wall with genre mixing. I kind of just want to even mix it up more and make it a lot more diverse. Yeah. Yes, actually, I feel like I didn't, like
explore the diversity enough.
Yes, I actually have like a lot of kind of ideas in the back of my head that I really want to mess about with. And it's almost like a playground to me, you know. It's kind of like, why not? Like, I'm at the end of the day, I guess I'm writing the music for myself. It's just like something I want to have fun with. So it's like I'm not really looking to please a certain type of crowd or anything. So it's just more like I'm just gonna do whatever comes up, just go with it. And it's for me, it's just I want to write music that I know I will have fun while playing it later on. I think that and obviously something that, you know, like, that I will also enjoy listening at some point and be like, okay, how can we just go crazy here and just like.
Wonderful. What does Aquae Furtivae mean, by the way?
It's like the literal translation, and I'm gonna like this.
I don't know what English either.
I'm just gonna like. It literally just means like stolen waters in Latin, but the name, I guess I was just like looking for a name, and it was like,
it sounded cool.
Yeah, exactly. It was pretty much, there's not really much thought behind it. It was just like, okay, I get that, sounds all right, and just went with it. Didn't really give much thought.
Awesome. Yeah, before we wrap this up, I want to take the opportunity and ask Lulu a little bit about what you've been doing lately apart from Aquae Furtivae. Is there any other releases involving you coming soon?
I'm afraid of forgetting about something. I don't want to say no, there's nothing, and then I forget that I did something huge, but not really. I'm doing small jobs for people who pay me for mostly production, sometimes a few solos. There's gonna be a big Keys collab that you know about. I don't know if it's official yet, so I won't say it.
Not really, but people will see it when it's out.
Okay, cool. Other than that, a few secret things maybe personally, but nothing to announce right now. So
at least nothing from that is like a project by like initiated by yourself, right? As I think the second Soledad album 13 is coming up very soon as well. And
it's gonna be huge. Yeah, I did take a big part into producing it, and there's even a middle section of a song that I wrote myself that I'm really proud of, and I'm gonna be really happy to see it getting released and have people hear it. I'm sorry, Iago, I was going to say I think it's the best production I've made. It's not the best like album, but like I think it's my proudest mix to date. But I mean it's more recent also than Aquae Furtivae actually, so in a way. But
of course we're gonna
make it in a year. I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to Lola soon for the Prog Talks as well. I just talked to her today, and she started sending out press crits to magazines. Very exciting. I really love the album. I was lucky enough to receive a secret download a couple of weeks ago.
I'm the only
already.
one in this room that hasn't heard it. Then
you need to hear it, man. It's so good.
It's absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait for people out there to hear it. And also, of course, Road to Square One, debut album by Aquae Furtivae, dropping April 1st. Follow Aquae Furtivae everywhere on the socials. We will put all the links in the description as always. And thank you guys. Thank you, Iago. Thank you, Lulu, for talking to us today. It was really fun, as expected. And also don't forget to follow us and like and subscribe and comment. You know the drill, and get us a cup of tea. Really appreciate it. That was it for today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for choosing us today. Until next time.
See you next flight.
Yeah.
Take care and keep spreading that prog love.
The Prog Talks, produced by the Progspace. Main host, Rune Belsvik Reynos. Produced by Rune Belsvik Reynos, Vanessa and Matthias Kirsch. All graphics and animations by Vanessa Kirsch. Intro theme by Giuseppe Negri. Outro theme by Zach Munowitz. This was the Prog Talks by the Progspace. See you in a week.